Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Mag Show. Today, we are going to be talking about breaking news coming out of Microsoft that indeed they are raising the prices of the Xbox Series consoles yet again. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, yet again. So let's get right into it. Let me pull up a tweet here from IGN, and this will actually show all the prices here. So now we've got the Xbox Series S consoles. We've got the 512 gigabyte and the 1 terabyte. Respectively, they're going up $379.99 to $399.99, and then $429.99 to $449.99. That's a $20 increase for those consoles there. Now, the Xbox Series X consoles are going up $549 for the digital to $599. That's a $50 increase. And the disc version, $599 to $649. That's another $50 increase right there. Now for the big boy, we've got the Xbox Series Limited Edition 2 terabyte. This is going from $729.99 to $799. That's a $70 increase. Remember crying about the PS5 Pro price? Right, so do I. So now, here we are. We're in the situation. How did we get here? What's happening? All right. Well, let's get the obvious out of the way. Let's talk about the tariffs. Clearly, that this is a situation that is affecting the tech sector with the tariffs. They have alluded to it as much by saying the macroeconomics and global situations and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that is the most obvious answer. However, there's something else that I wanted to talk about, and this is what I'm calling the Microsoft long con. And what I mean by that, and I've been screaming about this forever. I've talked about it on XNC, on other podcasts, talk about it with Colt Eastwood, and what I've talked about is that the eventual plan for Microsoft is to stop making dedicated Xbox consoles. And what I mean by that is that they will still make boxes, but they will not be Xboxes. They will basically just be PCs that you're going to be able to put under your TV. So why? Well, that simplifies the development for them and makes it a lot easier and a hell of a lot cheaper. Now, you think about the R&D, the production, the distribution of making consoles and everything else. That's going to cut down significantly, especially if they outsource it to a third party. They're doing it right now with the Asus ROG Ally X and everything else, right? So those are coming out. They didn't make those. Asus made those. And what are they doing? They're putting in their operating system into it, and that's all there is to it. And they've got their service. They got Game Pass in there, and off you go. Now, that being said, what I think that what they want to do is that when these new Xboxes come out in a couple of years, they're basically just going to be a running PC. They can say, oh, it's going to sideload Steam or this and that, or it's just going to be a sideload PC settings and everything. No, it's just going to be a PC. That's all there is to it. And I'm not even 100% sure that they're going to be making them themselves. Someone has already said that, say, oh, no, there will be a dedicated Xbox made by them. I don't believe that. I think that it's still going to be made by a third party. Now, why? Because it would make their development a lot easier once again. So instead of making an Xbox version of a game, a PC version of a game, and of course, a PlayStation version of the game, as they have gone third party, that being the case, actually would be a lot easier to just make for the PlayStation consoles and then streamline across the board for Xbox, PC, and whatever other way that you access their products. So, makes it a lot simpler for them, right? That's exactly why I think that they're trying to push everybody to PC. Now, the other thing is, though, let's be realistic. Not everybody can afford a PC, certainly, and they certainly can't afford, even a graphics card here in Canada could be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 up here in Canada, depending on which one you get. And that's just for the graphics card. That doesn't include everything else that comes with it. That is not a viable option for a lot of people. So people still want to play consoles, right? And they were supposed to be the cheap alternative to PC gaming. But that doesn't seem to be the case these days, particularly with Microsoft and their prices. Yes, Sony raised their prices. I'm not leaving them out of this. But here's the thing. I want to talk about something else very briefly. Is that if, and a huge if, Sony decides to keep their prices the way they are, within the calendar year, they are going to make gangbusters in terms of console sales. Why? Because of one of the biggest releases in the history of video games will be coming out within, presumably within the calendar year, and that would be Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, we still have approximately 60 to 70 million people are still playing on previous generation consoles. That would be your PlayStation 4s and your Xbox Ones. If you want to play Grand Theft Auto 6, by the way, you can't play it on PC, certainly not day one, you're going to have to buy a current gen console that would be either a PS5, PS5 Pro, or Xbox Series consoles. Well, if you go to the store and then you see that, for example, the Xbox Series X is $100 or $50 or $70 more expensive than a PS5, actually closer to $100, then people are going to buy the PlayStation. And they're going to do that. So I'm not talking about existing Xbox customers. They're going to stay where they are. I have two Xbox consoles sitting right here. I got an S and I got an X. So I don't need to, upgrade to anything else. And I have a PS5 Pro, of course. So that being the case, the people that are going to migrate from the previous gen consoles to this one, they're going to start. Obviously, price is a factor, because if price wasn't a factor, they would have upgraded already now in the last 5 years, right? Even with like little sales that they've had here and there, $50 off here, $100 off the S last year, I think it was during Black Friday or whatever it was. And so that being the case, price is definitely a factor. They're going to go look at that and say, well, I'm going to buy the cheapest version, or their parents are going to have to buy it, or whatever. Right? You're just driving more and more people to the PlayStation. Now, the reason why that's important, and I've talked about this many times on many podcasts, is that it's not about the box. It's not about the plastic. It's about accessibility to their storefront. And so that you get more people, let's just say for argument's sake, 15 to 20 million people migrate from the previous gen consoles, come over to the other one, and now what are they doing? They're exposed to that storefront. Okay? So if there are people who are, let's say, on an Xbox One, and they're like, I can't afford $600 or $700. By the way, these are all U.S. prices. Canada, forget about it. Might as well put up your house for mortgage if you want to go buy a console here. A ROG Xbox Ally X, the big one, is like $1,500 up here. Okay, that's not easily affordable by everybody. So that being the case, they're going to look at it and say, okay, well, I'm going to get this PS5 so that I can play Grand Theft Auto 6. Great. All right. Well, now what have you done? Now you have them exposed to the PlayStation Store. So if they're playing Fortnite or Marvel Rivals or whatever the heck they're playing, Warzone and all that stuff, every time they buy a skin or everything else, guess what? Sony gets their cut. And that's what Sony wants. And that's what Microsoft wants. That's what Nintendo wants. They all want that. Steam wants that. They all want you to be able to access their store. But by locking people out behind a paywall, you are actually driving people away from your storefront and away from the accessibility of it. And of course, in the end, all the microtransactions and the money that they would be making off of that. So I think that this is a huge mistake. I don't exactly know why. I have my theories, as I had already pointed out earlier. Yes, the tariffs is one thing. And then I think that what I was saying about driving other people away from the Xbox consoles to be able to access it, because Microsoft doesn't care. They don't care if you access it on PC or whatever. They just want you to access it. So, but I think that they want to move away from the hardware sector because it's costing them too much money and they're not selling. Let's face the facts here, folks. They're not selling. So I think that this is a mistake. They should have kept the prices the way they are, especially on the horizon of a game like GTA 6 coming out, where they could probably sell another 10, 15 million consoles out there, especially even Series S's out there to be able to access this game. And by doing this, you're driving people away from that. And then you're also driving people away from that storefront. You could have had 10 to 15 million other people accessing your storefront for the future. How do you think I became an Xbox console player way back when? Right? I mean, once I got in there, I've been utilizing their store for 20 plus years. And that's what they want. They want that repeat customer. They want someone in there to be able to go in there. I don't really buy much on the third-party wise on Microsoft anymore, but I'm certainly a Game Pass subscriber, Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. So they're getting all my money from there. And of course, I'm still there. Right? So that being the case, that's what you want. And by doing this, I think it's a mistake and they're driving people away. Either way, I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. Stay magnificent. Have a great day. We'll talk to y'all real soon. Bye now.